So my name is Daniel Nisik, and I'm the orchestra director of the VCU Symphony. And here are some of our musicians. I'll let them introduce themselves.
Right. I'm Nathan Frost. I'm a clarinet player with the Symphony. I've been with the Symphony for a little over 2 years now. It's been really cool.
I'm Drew Brunson. I play the upright bass, and this is my 4th year playing with this orchestra.
I'm Jamie Haygood. I play the tuba, and this is my 3rd semester playing with the orchestra.
I'm Max Lincoln. I play violin and viola. I've been with the Symphony for a little over 3 years.
Well, we have questions. Do we have questions for people? Yeah. Okay. So that's. I guess I'm an artist, and I teach in the Department of Photography and Film. And when I think of what my students are working towards, I think of them working in galleries, or going to graduate school, or going to work in their own practice, or starting their own photography business, or whatever. So I guess I'd want to know, in terms of the musicians here, like what you would do when you leave here. Like, what's your ambition?
Go ahead.
Sure. I mean, for me, it's really grad school, personally. But beyond that, I have a lot of different passions within music. I really enjoy clarinet playing, but I also really enjoy conducting also. And so that's something that I want to pursue in grad school. I plan on going for clarinet performance and getting more experience with conducting, and then pursuing that as a possible career path. And Professor Misik's been pretty cool about that. So
He means helpful, I suppose.
I guess.
I guess.
Just going down the line.
Sure. Well,
Okay.
whatever. Yeah.
I guess after I leave here, kind of have a bunch of different potential things. Maybe grad school, but maybe I don't want to go to school for another 2 years, because I've been doing that for, 16 years now. But then, as far as playing bass, it's great because it's versatile. I can audition for orchestras, play in, some chamber ensembles, not all of them, jazz ensembles, folk music, pretty much anything. Play it in a church, so just gonna keep playing bass, see where that takes me.
I plan to become a middle school band director. I am a music education major, and I also plan to go to grad school, probably not right after I leave VCU, but I want to go to grad school for music performance, because I really enjoy playing the tuba and would love to play in an orchestra one day once I'm out of school.
I'm a little bit of the less traditional route. I don't really see myself going to grad school. I don't see myself trying to pursue an orchestra job. I feel like I'd be more the kind of person to start my own ensemble. If VCU had a composition program that was really strong, that's what I would really be doing here. I'm really into composing and arranging. I like to do arrangements for string quartet of pop and rock songs and that kind of stuff. And that's proving pretty fruitful, and I'm taking classes in certification classes in audio recording and manipulation. So I have a couple different options after I leave here.
So I guess the key word is being versatile.
Yeah, being versatile, being flexible. Yeah, that gives me. That's kind of the same answer that I would give, or our students would give, in terms of there's lots of different opportunities.
And you can do stuff for a certain number of years. You can indeed go back to school after a few years. That was my situation. I played in orchestra for years after I completed my studies on the instruments at the Montreal's Conservatory. It's much later that I decided that I needed to become a conductor, and that I started pursuing that dream of mine. So it's fine. You can take a break, go back, and figure it out.
What was your primary instrument?
It was a double bass.
Double bass. And would you guys mind answering about how many hours a day do you have to practice to stay in orchestra shape?
To stay in orchestra shape?
Yeah.
So individual practice. I know how many hours I was putting when I was their age,
Yeah.
and I was typically a good 3 to 4 hours on the instrument, and that would really work for me well. I would have time to prepare the solo material and the orchestra stuff. But I don't know, I'm not quite sure about the number of hours that they put in. Maybe Drew put easily 3 to 4 hours on the instruments a day.
I try to aim for about 3, and then if I feel like I'm making myself go past that, then I don't. But if I'm just kind of having fun, I'll keep going. But then on top of that, I guess with rehearsals and performances and gigs, frequently ends up being like 8, 9 hours a day, at least lately. So that's,
And I would say that not everybody necessarily has to put that many hours, and some have to put many more. So if you're a violinist, for example, this is a very, very challenging instrument, as you know. And to become a real professional player and to eventually land a job in a professional orchestra, you have to practice a significant number of hours. You have to put in so many hours, and it's not only the hours, right? It's intellectual practice that's really required. Maybe in the brass it's a little bit different because of the lip situation. Maybe you want to speak to that. Do you?
Well, I actually practice about 3 hours a day as well. But it's not like sit down for 3 hours. It's more like go for 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour in the afternoon, and 1 hour at night. It's really, really hard to figure out, like, when, as a tuba player, like, being the foundation of the majority of the chords that are played in music and being the root of almost every ensemble, especially with orchestra. I have to really listen to the basses to be absolutely in tune with them all the time. So a lot of work that I do is fundamental, and I sit with drones, and like droning meaning like droning a pitch and playing that pitch until I can play it without the pitch and it's still in tune. Like, it just takes a lot of time to really, it takes a lot of, as Professor Missick said, it's a lot of smart practice. Like, practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect.
I'm curious to know if students have questions for students.
So what I was noticing when I was watching you all perform is like each pitch or each like vibration would like induce different emotions and feelings for me. So like the tubas and the bass would have a very like deep-rooted down-to-earth feeling, and the violins would almost have like an angelic like just like sparkle, goosebump feeling. So I guess like when you were choosing your instruments, did you dabble with other instruments before landing on the one that you chose to stay with?
I guess I did, and I didn't really choose my instrument. So I started playing piano when I was 3, and then once I was in middle school, we had to take a music elective, and I'd already been playing piano for so long that it was boring. Then my neighbor was the orchestra teacher, and he was like, "Hey, well, your friend plays bass, and we need another bass player. Do you want to do that? Because then you get out of the music elective." And I was like, "Okay, sure." Then 10 years later, I'm still doing it.
That's the story of mine. You're being asked to play that instrument more than you choose it. Isn't that funny? Maybe it's not the same for clarinetists, is it?
It's almost exactly the same.
Oh my God.
I dabbled a lot because I moved and traveled a lot when I was a kid, and so I didn't stay anywhere for more than 2 or 3 years. So I took guitar lessons and piano lessons here and there, but nothing very rigid, very structured. But I was really good at the recorder. And so when we finally moved back to the States, my mom was like, "Hey, all of your friends are in band. Why don't you do clarinet? Like, it's basically the recorder." And I was like, "Okay, maybe." And then she was like, "Well, Rhapsody in Blue has this really cool clarinet solo in the beginning." And she's like, "If you can play this after 3 years of clarinet, I'll give you $20. So I did it, and she never gave me my $20, and I'm still playing clarinet.
I feel like I had an opposite kind of situation of that. I did not start on the instrument that I'm playing tonight, and I did not commit to playing that long term until I was 1 year before college. I started on violin, which might not seem that different from a viola, but it's worlds apart in mindset and different clef and like different tuning and different role in an orchestra. I actually played violin in the symphony for a couple semesters these past couple of years, and I'm glad to be back on my favorite instrument. The switch for me was more practical. I started growing, and violins are kind of small, you know, they range about yay big. My viola is 2.5, give or take, inches bigger than my violin was because I'm kind of a long person. It's a little easier to play, it's easier to facilitate for me, and it makes me a little bit more versatile, I think. I know we were just talking about that, but knowing how to play more than one instrument and knowing how to play more than one instrument really proficiently and being able to switch between them at will is a really useful trait, I think.
I would agree with that. My dad's a musician, and when I was younger, he decided to buy a bunch of instruments and just like let me go at it. He bought 3 saxophones, 4 bass guitars, 2 acoustic guitars, a trumpet, a flute, and a grand piano, and was like, have your pick. I was like, all right. So I learned them all, and I picked up the trumpet like as my favorite when I was in the 3rd grade, and I played that all the way up until I got to 6th grade, and I was like, oh, all my cousins play in band, so I'll play in band. And I want to play the oboe, but I was the first class at Tomahawk Creek Middle School, and they didn't have oboes yet at the school. And my teacher was like, hey, Jamie, do you want to play the tuba? And I was like, what's a tuba? And he was like, I'll show you. So he showed me and was like, how would you give it a try? And I was like, yeah, sure. And that's how I started playing the tuba.
I have a question. Is there any specific, like, are there certain like genres or styles of music that you guys prefer to play versus others, and why?
Well, I know that I like to grow in various styles throughout the year. We have a total of 3 programs that we present before an audience, and our 4th production is opera. It's a full stage production. That's very exciting. That takes place at the end of April. And what I'm trying to do with the orchestra from program to program is to present various composers, different genres, different styles, different historical periods. And so tonight we started with Tchaikovsky and Beethoven. Next time will be American music, Copland and French by Poulenc. So very, very different, you see? And that's one of the goals of this program, to introduce these various composers and styles to the students. That's a quite essential thing to do.
I guess performance-wise, I really enjoy playing late classical music, early romantic music, because I find the clarinet parts are very involved, and I feel like they really matter. With a lot of the late romantic music, so close to the dawn of the 20th century, it gets almost boring. Even though that's my preferred music to listen to, I really like listening to Impressionist music, just turn of the 20th century. But the clarinet parts I find are somewhat lacking. If not lacking, I mean, they're essential and they're great parts, they're just not as much fun. Like the piece, the Beethoven that we played today, Beethoven's First Symphony, it's essentially a classical era piece. And my part is a lot of fun. I'm always doing something and it always feels like I'm really essential. But it's kind of a bummer when you're playing in a full ensemble and you're one of 2 clarinets and your part is just, you know, like a note here and there.
It doesn't really stand out as much as in Beethoven, maybe.
So I guess for orchestral music, I'd say like romantic era music a lot, like for example the Tchaikovsky that you heard tonight, that 6th Symphony, the entire thing, is also very great. I think we only got to play a little bit of it, but then the other great thing about bass is I can play any style of music pretty much because everything kind of needs bass. Like I do some like slap bass in a Appalachian folk band, play like electric bass in like funk gospel musicals, can just kind of do anything. And I guess it just really kind of depends. Sometimes I feel like doing one style, sometimes I feel like doing another. But I kind of through weekly basis, just all over the place with what I'm doing. But I'd say mostly like my biggest focus is classical orchestral music, and it's the most difficult in my opinion, so that's why I have to work on that a lot more than everything else.
The texture in Beethoven, as you can well tell now that you listen to the piece, is so elaborated, but at the same time it's very transparent. So everything shows, all the minute details in this music. You can tell, oh, maybe something went wrong here. Oh, maybe not. In Tchaikovsky, it's very different, and it's harder to tell. The texture is really, it's thicker texture. The orchestra is larger. It's not the same tools, not the same compositional tools. Obviously, it's not the same kind of harmony. So for when you go back to classical era symphonies, they're always going to be a huge challenge for young musicians to perform them in very particularly stylish way. And that's what we tried to achieve with our first program, putting together some music that is going to really help with creating this lush sound, Tchaikovsky, and in sharp contrast to that, we're going to put together a symphony that is extremely detail-oriented, and you have to make, a statement with each of these little details to maintain the audience's interest, if that makes sense.
Oh, do you want me to?
I don't know. We don't have to just go.
If you have an
the whole
answer, I mean, in
panel.
terms of what you prefer to play or listen to, or why music?
To be honest, my favorite kind of music to play is Dixieland music
Okay.
because it's so interesting. Because tuba players, when you're in high school and when you're in middle school, a lot of what you have is like da 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 da. It's just like, and then you get to high school. Excuse me. When you get to college, it's like this world opens to you where you can play concertos, you play in orchestra, you play solo pieces, you play in chamber ensembles, and it's just like, wow, the tuba can do so much more than just play root. And yeah, like for example, in the Gabrielli that we first played with the two brass choirs, that's one of my favorite pieces, just because it's just like, it's such a, here we are, we're the brass players, and it's just like, wow, tuba can do that.
I think that reminds me, I saw a video, it's, I think maybe Northwestern, their tuba choir has a video of them doing Down by the River.
They do.
So I watched that the other week, and it's pretty spectacular.
It's amazing. Check it out.
Tuba choir.
I feel like I definitely have an answer for this because my focus is almost entirely non-traditional. Like I'm playing in Symphony because this is what got me into playing music in general, was classical music. But I think at this point I've played a little of everything. I don't want to say everything absolutely, but maybe something that's similar to everything. I play in VCU's pet band. I play my viola. I'm hooked up to an amp. We play all sorts of kind of stuff. We play swing, we play Dixieland, we play like hip hop, rock, any of that kind of stuff. And that's also the kind of stuff that I'm like arranging and composing. So I don't know if I really have a favorite. My favorite to play, I guess, would probably be like rock music, particularly like post-80s rock music. The 60s are interesting, but not my thing.
Do you ever like to collaborate with other types of artists?
Absolutely. Last spring, I wrote a score for one of the VCU Cinema short films, Limbo, if anyone knows it. That was really, really cool. That's pretty much the biggest interdisciplinary collaboration I've done since I've been here, but it was a really, really enjoyable and eye-opening experience for me.
And did they reach out to you, or?
It was through a friend, actually. He was like, hey, I know this short film that needs a score, and I was like, I guess I can do that. And that's kind of how it happened.
Can't say I've done too much interdisciplinary. I suppose we did last spring. We had a really cool collaboration with the dance studio, in which we all had our chamber ensemble pieces, and we gave them to the choreographers. They choreographed dances to them, then we met up with them, rehearsed, and then we put on a concert, which was pretty interesting because a lot of the chamber music just is not the type of thing that people have ever written, like, dance choreography to before. So we had like 15 world premieres of new dance works. That was definitely a lot of fun. They're very different technically, but like the approach that like us musicians and the dancers have to what they do is almost identical, except I can eat whatever I want, so it's nice. It's a big difference.
I play a lot of music with slam poets. It started off with me just like attending these slam poetry gatherings in the Commons, like that basement area of the Commons. And I just watched them, and then I told them, and I was like, hey, I play the tuba. It's not slam poetry, but I say something with my music. And they're like, oh, how about you just like, play behind someone speaking their slam poetry? I was like, okay. So we gave it a try one day, and it was pretty cool. We haven't recorded anything, though, which is highly unfortunate, because it's so much fun, and it's really cool to work off of the poet, and then like the poet working off like whatever I'm doing, and it's almost completely improvised. There's some things where I'm just like, oh, I have an idea in mind, but a lot of times it's just like, hearing what their story is and knowing what they're going to go off of. It's like, okay, well then I can adjust.
I've collaborated a couple of times with poets more of a written, in a written format, where they were like, I want to turn this into a song, but I'm not a musician and have no clue how to write music. And I'd be like, hey, I kind of sort of know how to do that. So I take a look at what they'd given me and try to match music to words that were given to me. Yeah.
I feel like there should be like a class dedicated to that at VCU. It's kind of
Like collaboration?
yeah.
There is a
What is it?
it's offered through the Depot. It's an arts collaboration meetup.
Oh, I'm in that.
Why haven't you collaborated? Start now.
Do you have a project for us?
Well, I was just kind of like thinking about like how you said your like a friend reached out to you. It seems like it's like very organic. Like it's like, oh, I have an idea. Let me just like pick out these people that would fill in the roles. So I guess like the Da Vinci Center is very like idea oriented, not so much like executing. So if there was a class like where your curriculum was like executing events or like creating projects, would be like that'd be cool.
Like called Collaborate,
Yeah.
where every assignment is someone from a different discipline working with someone in a different discipline.
That'd be cool.
I feel like that's what the film department is in a lot of ways. It's like to make a film, you have to.
You have to have
Collaborate.
You have to have help from
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah, like I have to reach out to composers and graphic designers and people that just know what they're doing that I'm not like expertise in. I'm not an expert.
So everyone should just be a film major, and then they'll.
That's
be able
not what I'm saying. I'm just saying.
Enrollment will go up.
But also, like, referring to you, when you were doing your, conducting, you really looked like you were, like, in an entirely different world. Because, like, you're so into it, and it's...
That's what my psychiatrist likes to tell me.
It's very intriguing. Like, what is it like up there?
Well, especially when, I like to conduct from memory more and more. And it really forces you to create your own bubble. And you have to really see the score in your head and really see it and hear it in your head so that you can come up with the appropriate gestures, if you will. That's how I like to organize things. It's like a gesture in itself means very little. It needs to be connected to an idea. You're actually forging the sound when it's so strange to say that, right? Because look, did you hear it? There was not an awful lot of sound, right? So I don't want to sound presumptuous when I say you're forging the sound, but actually you are. More and more I do it, more and more like it, because I feel like there's this 3D component to the sound almost. It's like sculpting the sound. That is my mission as a conductor. That in addition to clarifying the structure of the piece, that's also very important, and trying to find essentially what the composer is trying to convey in terms of message. And with Tchaikovsky's Sixth Symphony, the Pathétique, from which we played the second movement tonight, you're looking at a composer who was really close to his death. And so the symphony is really is carrying this really profound message, and it's profoundly desperate. Maybe not the second movement that you heard today. That would be a little bit of the exception for that piece. But this is my role, to bring that energy that's available and to try to make sense of it and organize it in a musical way that speaks to an audience.
So as a follow-up to that, how much leeway do you have in the way that you conduct? And there's certain meanings to things that you do, but is there leeway to when you're pointing to a section, do you have to do it in a certain way for the musicians to understand exactly what it is, or is there some flexibility so that they have to learn you as much as they are learning the music?
They have to get used to me in a way, but it should not take forever before they get used to me if I come prepared with clear ideas and a clear technique. It should be a matter of a few rehearsals before things start to really happen. But what I'd like to do from time to time is to provoke them to do stuff differently from rehearsal to rehearsal, to change tempos, for example. So to experience a little bit with these things and to surprise them, so that rehearsal process is not boring. It has to be fun every time we meet. There's not a single moment where I think it should be boring. That's an important part of what I'm trying to do with them. It's got to be inspiring. It's got to be about bringing them to the next level as part of that orchestra, musician part of that orchestra. So yes, there's definitely some leeway, but it's a code. It's not everything is pre-established, and that's what makes it interesting. So there's room for surprise, and if they're flexible enough, they're gonna react to that positively.
And what's your favorite challenge that he's challenged you? So changing tempo, or can you think of a moment where you've been pressed, just too far, but you could hold it together?
Well, I really like it when he pushes the tempo a lot and nobody follows. And so you have like 6 or 7 different tempi going on all at the same time. And then he just kind of stops conducting and people keep playing. And it's a nightmare. It's great. That's kind of fun.
I guess something that's, especially since coming to here and playing under Dan Omisik, is that before, when a conductor or something will just kind of count beats and then you play along, but that's not fun. But then challenging and following him is that he'll add time and take away time in a way that's musical, but you still if you can't play it like you've been practicing it with a metronome, or else you're not going to be playing in time. So that definitely took getting used to. Still need to get used to that, because it's definitely an important skill to have.
I think the most challenging thing for me to get used to playing an orchestra with Professor Messick was the fact that we play on the up of the beginning of what he conducts. It's like you don't play on the downbeat, you play on the upbeat. And it actually really helps, and it really gives you a solid point of entrance. But coming from like band in high school, where the conductor is just like, it's like in opposed to going, it's like and it's like, wow, it's so much more productive. But it is very hard to get used to because you have to really watch, and when you're not watching, you can hear like the instead of like the da, you know.
I think the most challenging, but also one of my favorite things Professor Music does with his conducting is changing a dynamic very suddenly. So we're playing really loud, we're on, he's up here like, and then suddenly, how do you react to that? Like if you've been trained, like Jamie was talking, if you've been trained to just react to this, and then like, oh, there's dynamics on the page, so now I gotta play loud, but this is still the same. Like, a lot of high school conductors don't change that based on their dynamics, and Professor Missick makes it immediately noticeable when, like, no matter where you are in the section, as long as your eyes are somewhere upwards, you're going to see something drastic change when something goes from very loud to very soft very quickly.
Also, it's great that he used to be a bass player. I'm a bass player, so then he can point out everything we're doing wrong all the time.
Yeah, they really, yeah, they're used to having delivering a few comments here and there during rehearsal. That's true. I like my bassists. It's tough love from time to time, but they're good. They can handle it. I know them.
I have a question. How do you decide and pick which pieces you want to play at each show? Is it more based off of like what they like to play? Like, do you ask them their opinions on the music, or is it like a certain theme that you try to stick with?
Very rarely I receive suggestions from students, but when I do, I take it seriously, and if I can accommodate. As I said earlier, for me it's important to vary styles and present different composers from different time periods, from concert to concert. So that also orients my decision making when it comes to programming.
Actually, kind of hopping off that, last spring I got to conduct a chamber arrangement of Appalachian Spring with Drew and Max playing. And it's really cool because this semester we're going to be playing the full orchestra, Appalachian Spring. So that's really exciting for me.
It's funny because Nathan was he was doing an independent study with me in conducting last semester, so I supervised his work as a student conductor in that piece. And I told him, oh my God, we need to do the full orchestra version soon. And he got all excited when he heard it, because it's really one of the most important American work by Copland. You know, of course, it's a classic from the 20th century, and so I think it's very important for us to play American music, but not only American music, also some contemporary works by living composers, which we did last year. Do you remember when we played pieces by Turnage and Sayao? These are really, really luminaries, composers who are really extremely well-known, revered in their field, in Europe in particular, and we brought them here, their music. And it was a fantastic learning experience to play music that was composed as recently as 2005. So we also like to sometimes push the boundaries, and always with keeping in mind that there's an audience in the hall, and maybe you don't want to scare them off, but actually their reaction was spectacular. They really enjoy that new music that we played for them, and next thing you know, we'll do more.
Any other questions?
I have a question that is kind of driving me crazy when I try to edit this thing, but Max found me. So you guys just did a flash mob, and you've been talking a lot about audience energy, And just being on a stage with that many other people all at once and the amount of energy that you just have as a group, what's that like from the audience that you had tonight compared to that flash mob experience? Like, what was the energy like, if you could compare those experiences?
Well, the thing with the flash mob, you just kind of set up and go. People don't really expect it. They're not going there with the intent of listening to these pieces. They don't really mentally prepare for it. And I find when you're in a setting like a concert performance, people are there to listen to those works. And so, like, subconsciously, they will prepare to listen to that. And so they'll be more intent instead of just, oh, wow, there's a symphony performing in the Compass right now. Like, that's kind of cool. They're actually sitting down, paying attention, and you get a lot more feedback from them because of that, and it's a lot more engaging. It's fun.
So no, I'd almost kind of say the opposite to some degree, because the cool thing, like, with everybody here, like, they came here expecting to see a symphony, then they walk through the doors and, oh, look, it's a symphony. Whereas when we played out in the Compass, people were, like, just coming out of class, probably were bored out of their mind for an hour or two. They come up and, oh, look, there was 80 people playing Tchaikovsky in front of me. So I think that definitely is, like, kind of, like, the surprise behind it. And then people still kind of, like, just stopped and listened and, like, didn't talk during most of it. Then, of course, some people were still passing by. But really, for the most part, the audience was still kind of, like, quiet and listening. So I think it was kind of cool, because they were, like, more, like, literally giving them music, whereas here people, like, came to get, it went, like, the music store to get the music, whereas we were handing out music for the Compass.
I find it really, really exciting, like, the concert atmosphere in general, especially when, like for example, today when we had to play the Gabrielli, I wasn't on stage, I was over there sitting in the chair, and walking across, just seeing people, like, seeing, like, the buzzing audience, just, like, looking, why are they not on stage? Like, it was just like, we're confusing them. They're getting excited about something that they don't know about. And it's like, it's just like seeing an audience react, because, not everyone who comes to a concert knows what they're going to get. I know I passed out flyers in my Africana Studies class on Monday about this performance, and people were like, VCU has a symphony orchestra? And I was like, absolutely. And some people came to the concert tonight, and they were just like, we didn't expect that. But I was so excited and happy afterwards, and I was like, that's exactly the feeling you should have. You should feel something completely different when you walk out, and that's exactly what the composer would have wanted as well.
I feel like if we're going to compare those two situations, we as performers have to kind of think about what we're doing and what we're bringing to these different groups of people. Like, when we play at Flash Mob, it's very informal. Like, we're going out there with the intent, well, in this case, it was to market for this performance and hand out flyers for that. But when we went to that performance, there was a certain level of excitement among us. We were excited. This was new. This hadn't been done. Like, I don't believe the symphony has ever flash mobbed, especially not in the middle of campus. Whereas when we play here, it's a different kind of excitement, for us at least. A lot of people get a little bit of stage fright, a little bit of nervousness, which is understandable. We're playing legitimate, actual orchestra music. That's not an easy feat to do, even with months of preparation. And the audience reacts differently in those different situations. I believe, like, subconsciously, we're always constantly reacting to how the audience is reacting to us. So it's a constant, like, feedback loop of, oh, we're excited because we're playing this really cool part, and the audience is like, oh, we're really excited, and suddenly we're quiet, and the audience is like, oh, now we're excited because this is different, kind of thing. Yeah.
Do we need more? Are we good? I'm looking at Molly.
That was awesome.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
so
I think we're good.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.